Hey guys, this is one of the strange days. It's so humid here at the moment that I just took a shower in order to be surrounded by less moisture. But that's not really what we want to talk about today, is it? Now, we want to talk about today's game. And what game is it? Streets of Rage. Do I need to say any more? I don't think so. Let's get straight into it. Back in the early 90s, my then best friend and I would game all day, every day during the summer holidays. Whether it was Gauntlet or an ice hockey game on my CPC or NHLPA Hockey 93 on his Mega Drive, we gamed intensively and we loved it. But something was missing. Something side-scrolling and fast-paced that could give our shared love of Double Dragon in the arcades a run for its money, because the 8-bit home computer versions certainly weren't getting anywhere close to doing that. Step forward, Streets of Rage. Released in the UK in October 1991, we didn't get to try it until the summer of '92, thanks to the usual childhood requirement of finding somewhere that was trying to sell off remainder stock that they otherwise couldn't shift. Mega Drive games were expensive when we were kids, and saving up our pocket money would only get us so far. It didn't matter that we had to wait though, because this was a new game to us, one that we'd heard so much about from reviews and magazines. So when my friend booted up his copy for the first time, we all gathered round the tiny CRT screen in his parents' spare room, and a collective grin spread across our faces. Right from the start, with the kick-ass music and the action movie-level scrolling plot description, we knew that we were in for something special. Streets of Rage might have started life as Sega's answer to Final Fight, but it was clear from the start that this wasn't your standard run-of-the-mill copycat venture. This was something special, something good that could stand on its own 2 feet and hold its own next to the other big names in the scrolling brawler genre. I never owned a copy of Streets of Rage when I was a kid. The only person I knew who had a copy was my friend, and we all used to play it for hours at his house because he was literally the only person who had a copy that we knew of. It wasn't available to buy in the local shops or even to rent, which is quite an oversight on the part of the shop holders now I think about it. Eventually, I managed to get hold of a decent copy on eBay. I picked it up about 6 years ago for 6 or 7 quid, and I'm glad I got it when I did, because these days you could expect to pay 3 times that amount. As much as I love this game, I can't recommend buying it for that much. Instead, get yourself a copy of Mega Games 2, the Sega collection that gives you Streets of Rage, along with Golden Axe and Revenge of Shinobi. It's currently available for about £8, so you get 3 games for a third of the price of a boxed copy of Streets of Rage. In my view, that's a bargain. But let's get back to the game itself. What's it like? Well, the music is outstanding. The graphics, although looking a little small by today's standards, were a delight to behold back in the early 90s. The characters are bold, clear on the screen so you never lose sight of what's going on, and have a range of impressive animations that will keep you focused right there on the action. At its heart, Streets of Rage is a simple game. You progress to the right across the screen, fight a number of baddies, all of which can easily swarm and overwhelm your character, so you have to keep your wits about you, and then battle a boss before doing the same thing all over again on top of a different background. When it's laid out like that, there's not a lot to it, but that's where the beauty lies. Just bottle people there. That's what an ex-police officer does, isn't it? You have the right to remain shanked. That's better. Beat people with a pipe, because that's far better. I love the way they go flying, it's brilliant. In later years, a lot of beat-em-up games would lose their charm by becoming too melodramatic with their plots, and too dark and gritty to keep the game fun to play. The charm of a game like Streets of Rage is in its simplicity. The game loop is short, clean, and consistent. Fight the baddie, progress, fight another baddie, progress, fight the boss, and repeat. Adding too much extra to that overwhelms the game, in the same way that the enemies will overwhelm your character if you don't keep them at bay. Keeping things simple and presenting what you do put into the game with skill and charm is what makes a game like this special. Sega went all in on polishing Streets of Rage, and they succeeded. Each playable character has their own specific charm to them, and their own range of moves. Personally, I tend to play as Blaze because her kicks and throws are great, plus she's pretty quick too. She lacks the hit points of the other characters, but she makes up for it with her decent range of moves, so I tend to go for her. you will no doubt have a preferred character too, and that's great. It shows that there's something for everyone here, a character to fit whichever playing style that you prefer. But it's not all fun and games. As much as I love Streets of Rage, I don't love the end of level bosses. Each one is different, which is great. Each one is brilliantly drawn and animated, which is also great. Each one has a special gimmick that you need to identify and work around in order to defeat them, which is not great. At times, these guys feel like the game is cheating. The fire-breathing guy is the one I'm thinking of in that respect. He is awful. I realise that games need to have a challenge to them if they're going to keep you playing and make you feel like you got your money's worth at the end of the day. But some of these bosses go beyond simply being a challenge. They verge into frustration territory at times, and that ruins the fun for me. I'm sorry guys, but it's true. At the end of the day, Streets of Rage is a game I come back to time and time again. I love it. It's a great game, despite the little flaws that I've already mentioned. While I know the majority of people prefer the sequel, and we'll cover that one at a later date, there's still something that brings me back to the original game at least once every couple of months to help this motley trio of badasses clean up the streets. It's just great fun, and I hope it always will be. So there you are. Streets of Rage is one of those fantastic games that starts a franchise but gets everything right straight away, in my opinion anyway. If you disagree, I'd love to hear why in the comments section below, but it is one of those games that really defined some parts of my childhood. There was parts before Streets of Rage, parts after it, but the after it was always in comparison to Streets of Rage. Like, Final Fight, is it as good as Streets of Rage? Well, I always had that debate with my friends. Later beat-em-ups, are they as good? The brawlers that we got in the 3D era, was it as good as the 2D thing with Streets of Rage? Streets of Rage had everything right, in my view. So it's one of those games. And before that, well, we had Double Dragon in the arcades. We had Renegade on the Amstrad CPC. We'll be doing a review on that one at some point as well. But was any of that anything to compare to Streets of Rage? In my view, probably not. Even Renegade doesn't quite get to the level of Streets of Rage. But anyway, I'm rambling now, so I'm going to let you go. I'll just say this. I've been Zoe Kirk-Robinson, you've been watching GameHammer Daily. If you like this, remember to click that like button, and I'll see you tomorrow if you subscribe, because we'll have another game. Bye for now.